The Trojan Crate. As Milky Way, the secretary of the Minerva Club, was fond of saying, of all the members of the club, there was not one who could come up to Dog Downey for sheer goodness of heart. But as far as intelligence went, Dog was a long way from the top class. Mostly he worked in a minor capacity for other members of the club. The only thing he did on his own was dog stealing, what might be called dog-napping, at which he was an acknowledged master. Downey loved and understood dogs more than he did any other creature, four or two-legged. He could do anything with them. Downey was a short, ugly man, with a great mop of brown hair that fell forward across his face and gave him a shaggy look. Women, seeing him coming, would cross the road, which was a great pity, for Downey had the utmost respect for women, though he had long reconciled himself to his bachelor state. At the age of 20 he had qualified for membership in the club, and no member is admitted to the august halls in Brook Street unless he's done at least 2 years in one of Her Majesty's prisons. At the time of this story, Downey had just completed a rewarding piece of work. He had stolen a valuable litter of 4 6-month-old Alsatian pups from a van which was delivering them to Cruft's dog show, and he'd trained them until they were reliable house dogs, and then sold them through an agent of his to various clients at 50 guineas apiece. Each time Downey parted with a dog, it was like a sailor's farewell to his bride. He came into the Minerva Club 4 days after this, his face as long as a fiddle with all its strings broken. We tried to cheer him up with brandy, but it didn't work. In the end, Maxie Martingale offered to take him in on a scheme he had just worked out. You should have seen the light in Downey's eyes at the thought of working with the great Maxie. Maxie Martingale was brilliant. He was a tall, distinguished man who dressed like a city banker, had a voice like an archbishop, and the charm of a matinee idol. Dog Downey instantly became one of his men, and Downey's warm heart overflowed at Maxie's kindness. Maxie's scheme was simple, brilliant, with the polish of genius, and cheap to operate. Maxie would choose a wealthy house where there was silver, paintings, an easy safe to crack, or a fine collection of jewels to pick up. On the outside, Maxie moved in good society and was well informed, and then wait until he knew the owners were away for the night, and the place manned only by the house staff. At about 5:30 in the afternoon, a van would draw up outside the house, and a trio of Maxie's men would deliver a large packing case with the label of some big firm on it. The boys would dump the crate in the hall, get a servant to sign for it, and then be off. While the servant was walking around the crate, wondering what was inside, the telephone would ring. This would be Maxie, apologetic, anxious, smooth as silk, pretending to be an executive of the firm, asking if the case had been delivered. Yes, it had. Oh dear, how unfortunate and annoying, because a mistake had been made in addressing the crate, and it was not intended for Mr. So-and-so at all. Regrettably, it was too late now to get the van men to collect it. Would it be terribly inconvenient if the crate stayed there for the night? The van men would pick it up first thing in the morning. And, of course, Max's charm worked, and it always was convenient. And inside the crate, of course, would be one of Max's men. He would stay there until the house settled down for the night. Then he would unfasten the crate, come out, lift the items listed by Maxie, pack himself and the loot back in the crate, screw it up from inside, and the next morning be whipped away by the returning van men before any loss had been discovered by the late-rising servants taking advantage of their employer's absence. Dog became Maxie's crate man, and he did the job well, no complaints, and made himself more money than he'd seen for years. He even bought a new suit, got himself a haircut regularly, and began to bathe daily. They did a couple of jobs in London, then worked the provincial towns for a few months, and finally came back to do another job in London. Maxie picked the house of a rich stockbroker who had a famous collection of gold and silver snuff boxes, for which Maxie knew the right market. Duly, at 5:30, Dog was delivered, labelled "Fragile, Handle with Care," to a house just off Hyde Park, and dumped on the hall floor.